Good morning, everyone. Today's news analysis is brought to you by Saikul. BJP and its ally UPPL, that is United People's Party Liberal, which was founded in Assam, won all 5 seats in the Assam. BJP's Susanta Borogohai won the Thoda Assembly seat by a margin of 30,561 votes, where BJP allies UPPL candidate Jiron Basumatare and Jolen Daimari won by 28,252 and 50,000 votes in Gosaingaon and Tamulpur respectively. BJP candidate Fanidhar Talukdar on the Bhavanipur seat by a margin of 25,641 votes. BJP's Rupjyoti Kurmi on the Mariani seat by a margin of 40,104 votes. Counting of these votes began at around 8 am on Tuesday for the Bibles in 5 assembly constituencies in Assam, that is Gosaingaon, Bhavanipur, Tamulpur, Mariani and Thoda. A cumulative voter turnout of 74% was recorded in the by-elections, of which the highest count at 78% was recorded at Bhavanipur Assembly seat. A total of 31 candidates are in the fray for 5 seats, with nearly 7.96 lakh voters. Again, attack was held by militants in Kabul, that is in Afghanistan. 6 attackers set off an explosion at the entrance of a military hospital in the Afghan capital on Tuesday and tried to enter the facility, but were eventually pushed back by Taliban guards. An official with the Taliban-run defense ministry said at least 3 people were killed and 16 were wounded in the attack on the Sardar Muhammad Daud Khan Hospital in Kabul. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack, one of the most brazen yet in the capital since the Taliban took over Afghanistan in a swift military campaign in August. Previous attacks were claimed by Islamic State militants, an enemy of the Taliban. Hibatullah Jamal, the Taliban official from the Defense Ministry, said 2 of the 6 attackers were captured by the Taliban army. He did not say how many people were killed or wounded. There are casualties among both our personnel and civilians, but immediately the toll is not clear, he mentioned. He said Taliban fighters were among those killed, but that most of the casualties were civilians. The Taliban have regained control of the hospital. Syed Abdullah Ahmadi, the director of the nearby Wazir Akbar Khan Hospital, said his facility had received 3 bodies and 7 people who were wounded in the blast. Another 9 injured were taken to the Afghanistan Emergency Hospital. In recent weeks, we can see the Islamic State group has carried out a series of bombing and shooting attacks. Islamic State has stepped up attacks since the Taliban takeover of the country. The border between Pakistan and Afghanistan reopens. It was closed during the Taliban's invaded Afghanistan on August 2021. This border is called Chaman-Spin-Boldak borders. The border crossing point between the two countries is one of the busiest in terms of trade and business, as hundreds of containers and trucks carrying goods cross over every day. The border crossing was reopened after an agreement was reached between Pakistani and Afghan authorities on Monday, a senior official said. Following the reopening of the border, it was decided that people living in the nearby Qila Abdullah and Chaman in Pakistan and Kandahari in Afghanistan would be able to cross the border on the basis of their identity card. The official said that Afghan patients would also be allowed entry into Pakistan. A former president of Chaman Chamber of Commerce Jalat Khan Azagzai, said that as per the agreement, people can cross over between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., while trade will continue throughout the day. The Taliban authorities had placed cement blocks at the border crossing last month, claiming Pakistan was charging high transit and temporary visa fees. They also claimed that Pakistani authorities were not allowing people showing Afghan national cards to cross over. The custom officials of both sides now have been restored on duty as trade operations resume. In COP26 summit, about 120 leaders all over the world has arrived. United Kingdom is hosting 26th UN Climate Change Conference. During the opening ceremony of the United Nations Climate Change Conference, that is COP26 in Glasgow, Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson said world is strapped to a doomsday device and even told how the global warming and sea level is rising day by day and urged world's leaders to find solutions to save our green earth. This summit was held in Glasgow in Scotland. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi met Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett on the sidelines of the COP26 climate summit in Glasgow in Scotland on Tuesday, where Prime Minister Bennett welcomed him by saying, "You are the most popular person in Israel," and also invited him to join his Yamina party. In Washington, President of United States Joe Biden on Tuesday said that he is decided to cut off Ethiopia, which was an African nation, from a United States trade program, setting the path for sanctions against the African nation over its failure to end a nearly year-long war in the Tigray region that has led to gross violations of human rights. Biden, in a letter to Congress, said Ethiopia has not met eligibility requirements to remain a beneficiary of the African Growth and Opportunity Act. The program provides sub-Saharan African nations duty-free access to the United States on the conditions they meet certain requirements. Mr. Biden also cited that the country like Ghana and Mali in the letter for being out of compliance. Yahoo Inc., which is a search engine, pulled out of China on Tuesday, citing an increasingly challenging business and legal environment. Chinese authorities maintain a firm grip on internet censorship in the country and required companies operating in China to censor content and keywords deemed politically sensitive or inappropriate. The T20 World Cup, which is going on UAE, United Arab Emirates, where India played two matches till now which were defeated. To qualify India in the semi-final, India must have to win all three upcoming matches and Afghanistan must should defeat New Zealand. And if this above happens successfully, India, New Zealand, Afghanistan will achieve 6 points. Then qualifications will depend on net run rate. That is, India has to defeat all his opponents by scoring more runs. In the table you can see the points scored by team 1 and team 2, where India is in 5th positions having negative run rate. As I mentioned earlier, India needs to play very hard to win T20 World Cup 2021. Yesterday, the match was played between South Africa and Bangladesh, where South Africa defeated Bangladesh by 6 wickets, where Pakistan won by 45 runs from Namibia. Today's match will be played between New Zealand and Scotland from 3:30 p.m. and India versus Afghanistan, which will be held from 7:30 p.m. The above information was taken from Google, where Augustine Shaw and Aniket Kumar helped me in preparing this news and PPT. Thank you.